My name is Erin Moore. I am Manager of Marketing and Interior Design at VPS Architecture. Grit is having the resilience to withstand very large, difficult challenges and to push through when it's a difficult time. So when I think about grit, it reminds me when I was in college, getting my degree in interior design. It reminds me of multiple conversations that our professors would tell us about being prepared to work in this industry. It is not necessarily, it's a very creative industry. It's, to what some people say, fun. Enjoyable industry, but at the same time they wanted to make sure that we were prepared for the challenges that were ahead of us. People are always critiquing your work, which is at some times and can be kind of personal because it is your work. But our professor would always tell us that this is an industry that you have to have very thick skin. And at times where it does seem impossible, you have to push through that. And I do believe that in my career that I have had for 20 years, I have had at times that seem like a disadvantage to be sent down one road versus the other. In the end, I realized that it really did make me and place me where I am today. In my mind, how grit fits VPS Architecture, we have been told several times by our clients that they hire us for the difficult jobs, the most challenging jobs, because we are good problem solvers. And again, we push through at times when the impossible or when the challenge seems impossible. I believe that VPS translates the definition of grit in our culture by helping especially the incoming graduate architects and interior designers to understand that even again at times where finding a solution to a problem is hard to see or very, again, challenging. Again, showing them that you have to have that resiliency and you have to find the answer for the client. I believe that on specific projects that I've had with VPS while I've been here, that grit has translated in the dedication that we put into our projects, the dedication that we have to our clients. And sometimes that means long hours. Sometimes that means traveling to be on site at a moment's notice and moving our schedule around to benefit our client. The client always comes first. Why I think it's important that grit is one of VPS's core values is because it is always needed on a project, even when times are good. It can be seen at times as being a little bit more blunt, straightforward. But where VPS brings grit into its other core values, like for example respect, is we understand that they go together. And VPS is always very respectful to our clients. We're very respectful to each other. We're very respectful to our contractors. And ultimately, everyone understands that we are there to be a team, and our end result is to produce a good project for our client. I do think that VPS's legacy of having 60 years in practice definitely falls in line to what has made us have grit as one of our core values. I believe that the legacy in our company and our firm and the years of practice and experience, and really have our architects, our partners, our leadership has seen everything. And I believe that is part of what supports knowing that you have the faith to push through. Ultimately, grit is used at VPS to push through and to sustain and to keep going, to be resilient. But again, I think it's a very important fact that you can't have grit at VPS without having the other three core values, which are inspiring, respect, and collaboration. And again, I think when you have the four values put together, that's when you get really the full picture of what VPS and who VPS is. When thinking about grit and how it applies to individual projects, we recently did have a challenge on a project that the contractor hired a sub to install a wood floor. In the end, what we found out was this sub was not qualified. So the timeline was based off an event that was to be scheduled in this room, and it was a very tight timeline. And what happened was we started having issues with the floor. So immediately we had to regroup with the owner and our contractor to put a plan in place to resolve the issues. That was a time where I feel like we really had to show our grit, because there again, we were faced with what seemed to be an impossible challenge to meet and replace this floor and to meet the deadline of the event that they were having. And it was a perfect example of where we understood the client could not hear any excuses. It just had to be done. Our values, our core values, will help our company sustain in a very competitive, cutthroat market. I believe that our core values will keep us honest and true to who we are as a company. I think it's what I have seen in the past in a lot of different industries is when you have companies that are not true to who they are, they don't seem to have the longevity and they don't seem to sustain and be a strong company. So I feel like if we continue to be true to who we are with our four core values, I do think that we can not only sustain in this market, but I also think it will help us reach new goals for our clients.